Welcome to Gooseberry Science and Education videos. I am an AI host named Alex, but rest assured that the information in this video is factually accurate and based on rigorously vetted sources. We use AI because it can create better videos than human editors most of the time. So let's jump right in.
Today, we're unpacking Florence Scovel Shinn's 1925 spiritual classic, The Game of Life and How to Play It. And as you can see, our orange gooseberry mascot is going to help us out along the way. We've structured her metaphysical theories into a straightforward 6-part playbook. We're covering 1. Life is a game. 2. 3 departments of mind. 3. The power of words. 4. The law of non-resistance. 5. Karma and intuition. And finally, 6. Finding your divine design.
Okay, let's kick things off with part 1. Life is a game, reframing the human experience.
We're often taught that life is this brutal battle, right? That you have to fight tooth and nail to win. But according to Shinn's text, life isn't a battle at all. It's actually a cosmic game of giving and receiving. Think of it kind of like a giant game of boomerangs. She explains that whatever a person sows, they shall also reap, meaning whatever you send out into the world, whether that's love, anger, hate, or criticism, is going to inevitably return to you in some form. It is an inescapable cycle. If you cheat others, you're going to be cheated. But if you give out love, you'll get love back. Understanding this completely shifts your perspective from being defensive to being really intentional about what you put out there.
Now, to successfully play any game, you have to know the field. That brings us to Section 2, 3 departments of mind, understanding the playing field.
Look at the stark contrast here between the first 2 departments. On the left, we've got the conscious mind. Shinn calls this the mortal or carnal mind. It's highly logical, it's our reasoning mind, but its major flaw is that it only sees what's right in front of it. It looks around and sees limitations, poverty, disaster, and sickness. It's totally bound by current circumstances. But then, on the right, you have the superconscious mind. This is the realm of perfect ideas. It holds what the ancient philosophers called the divine design, that absolute, perfect, sometimes unattainable seeming pattern for your true destiny. And the superconscious mind sees absolutely no limitations.
And then we have the third department, the subconscious mind. Shinn argues the subconscious is basically just raw power with zero direction. It acts a lot like steam or electricity. It's incredibly powerful, but it completely relies on the instructions you give it. Think of it as a blindly faithful servant. It doesn't have a sense of humor, it doesn't use logic, it just takes whatever you feel most deeply or whatever you picture most clearly in your head and works relentlessly to make it real. And it'll do that completely regardless of the havoc it might cause in your actual day-to-day life.
So how do we actually direct that power? Let's move to Section 3, the power of words, the tools of the game. Shinn uses this absolutely brilliant analogy here. She calls the human imagination the scissors of the mind. Just think about that. Day in and day out, your imagination is constantly snipping and cutting out the pictures you see in your head. And because your subconscious mind takes those internal images so literally, Shinn warns that our spoken words and focused thoughts actively shape our physical reality. We literally speak our lives into existence. If you're jokingly complaining about heading to the poorhouse, well, your subconscious is listening. It cuts out that exact picture and makes it your physical reality. Crazy, right?
To manifest positive stuff instead of accidental disasters, the explainer outlines a very clear 3-step process. First, boldly demand what belongs to you by divine right. Step 2, and this one is absolutely crucial, you have to show active faith. Shinn calls this digging your ditches. Like the biblical story of the 3 kings in the desert who dug ditches for water way before there was any sign of rain, you have to act like you've already received what you asked for. Prepare the physical space for it. And step 3, act unerringly on your intuition and sudden hunches.
This perfectly sets up her strategy for dealing with inevitable obstacles. Section 4, the law of non-resistance, overcoming the game's penalties.
This quote right here hits the nail on the head. Fear is your ultimate enemy in this game. Shinn actually defines fear as inverted faith. It's faith in evil instead of good. When you sit around worrying, you're actively impressing your subconscious with a detailed picture of disaster or heartbreak. And since your subconscious is that faithful servant we talked about, your fear actively attracts the exact situation you're desperately trying to avoid. So to win, you've got to substitute pure faith for that crippling fear. You have to stop putting your faith in the worst-case scenario.
To get to that state of unshakable faith, Shinn brings in the traditional Chinese philosophy of water. Water is the most powerful element on Earth, precisely because it is perfectly non-resistant. It doesn't fight the rock, it just naturally flows around it until the rock wears away. Shinn says that if you become an absolutely non-resistant person, if you can bless your enemies and literally baptize your failures as stepping stones to success, your obstacles will just fall away of their own weight. Stop emotionally pushing back against a bad situation and watch it lose its power entirely.
All right, let's look at the strict framework behind all of this. Section 5, Karma and Intuition, the Universal Rules.
Shinn impartially breaks down these spiritual laws. First, there's the law of karma. We all know this one. The law of comeback, where every action demands a payment. But here's the real game changer. She points out a higher law called the law of forgiveness. This is basically grace, and it can literally wipe out your past karmic mistakes if you actively call on it. Then, there's the law of substitution. Let's say you're clinging to a specific job or a relationship that just isn't working. Instead of forcing it, this law lets you substitute it with a divine selection. You ask for the right idea instead of your forced idea, letting the perfect plan take over so there's zero loss.
To navigate all these rules, Shinn emphasizes that intuition is absolutely non-negotiable. She shares this wild story about a woman who was down to her last $8. Her logical, conscious mind was screaming at her to stay in New York and frantically job hunt. But instead, she blessed her money, completely let go of the fear, and followed a sudden, totally illogical hunch to just take a train back home. By doing that, she miraculously ran into an old family friend upon arriving who unexpectedly gave her thousands of dollars. That is intuition in action.
And that leads us to the ultimate goal of the playbook. Section 6, Finding Your Divine Design, the Winning Condition.
This is the climax of Shinn's entire philosophy. She basically argues that we need to stop stumbling through life trying to force things to happen with sheer willpower. Instead, we should demand that our individual divine design manifest. That is the perfect plan securely locked inside your superconscious mind. When you finally align with it and you stop resisting, it creates what she calls the square of life, and that naturally and effortlessly brings you perfect health, abundant wealth, unconditional love, and absolute perfect self-expression.
Taking all these teachings from nearly a century ago into account, it makes you wonder what's hiding deep within your own superconscious. Shinn firmly believed that every single person has a unique genius just waiting to be unleashed, completely free from the limits our reasoning minds impose on us. It's an incredible thought experiment. What could you actually achieve if you truly stopped standing in your own way?
Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe if you like the content. I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. If you were to completely let go of fear and resistance today, what latent talent might emerge? And what would your perfect self-expression truly look like?